Now, you've been directionally right on a number of other big stock bets, including Teladoc. This is your largest holding in the Genomics Revolution Fund you run. It's also a big holding in the Innovation Fund. It's up about 40% this year. It's got a $40 billion market cap right now. This is telemedicine. Is telemedicine really going to continue to shine once COVID recedes?
There's a rumor of a big possible merger in the telemedicine arena between Grand Rounds and Doctors in Demand in the near future. And Teladoc's stock price, well, it's dropped like a rock in the last 45 days. If you haven't sold it yet, is it time to sell it now? Or is the possible merger of Grand Rounds and Doctors on Demand a clear indication and reaction to Teladoc's competitive advantage? Welcome to MGA Investing. My name is D. I bought 100 shares of Teladoc back on March 25th. Was it the right decision, or should I have waited to see if it would drop to $150 like it did this past week, or possibly even $120 before buying? Do you think it'll go to $120? Leave your comments below. Believe it or not, GameStop has a higher stock price right now than Teladoc has. There's no question, Teladoc has been all over the financial news in the last 14 months, but with a nearly 49% drop in the stock price since its high in February 2021, is it a good mid to long-term buy? And should you add it to your stock portfolio right now? In this video, I'm going to answer that question by taking you through the non-technical stock analysis process that I use. It's called the dumb method. It's a method of stock analysis that doesn't require a college degree, insane Excel spreadsheet, or chart reading skills. I've used this method successfully for decades. And the best part of it all, it's free. There's nothing to download. There's no digital course to buy. It's the method that I use to make my decision to buy 100 shares of Teladoc on March 25th, 2021. Now, I'm going to take you through my decision-making process using the dumb method. Now, you're welcome to leave your feedback in the comments below as to whether you think my assessment, well, is it way off or is it right on spot? If you haven't seen the first video in this Teladoc stock analysis series, which I started with my overview of Teladoc, I'd certainly encourage you to go back and watch that video. So what is the dumb method? DUMB is an acronym. D stands for Durable Competitive Advantage. Does the company have one? U stands for understand, meaning do I understand how the company makes money? M1 stands for management. Is the management effective? And I'll talk about different ways that I come to that conclusion. M2 stands for margin of safety. Can I buy the stock at a discount? I devised this process to provide me a simple, reliable, and replicatable way to evaluate stocks without all the math. Because I came to realize one thing early in my investment experience, and that is no matter how good the math is, there's no crystal ball to the future performance or earnings of a company. Like Joe Frazier said, everyone has a fight plan until they get punched in the mouth. In this stock analysis of Teladoc, I'm going to focus on the D in the dumb method. My goal in this video is to answer three questions for you. Number one, what is a durable competitive advantage? Number two, does Teladoc have a durable competitive advantage in the marketplace? And number three, if so, what is it? How do I define a durable competitive advantage? It's what Warren Buffett has often referred to as a moat. A moat provides a defensible position for a castle from its enemies. When a company has a durable competitive advantage, it means it has the ability or way of either by regulatory advantage, proprietary business practices, processes, or patents to defend their market lead mid to long term against competitors within a given industry. Now, having a defensible position can increase the odds of that company's ability to gain significant market share against competitors, which could potentially mean higher growth for the company and higher returns for shareholders. Look, nothing's for sure in this world full of unforeseen variables, but determining whether a company has a durable competitive advantage provides me a relative level of confidence that I'm on track. A good example of a company with a durable competitive advantage is Apple. And what do you think is their durable competitive advantage? Many people would say the iPhone, the iPad, or even the Apple Watch. But in my limited opinion, I believe they currently have three durable competitive advantages. One of them is their culture of innovation. Now, don't confuse innovation with invention. Apple doesn't necessarily invent new stuff. They improve the user experience of things which the consumer already is familiar with. Apple didn't create the mobile phone. They gave us a new experience with it. They didn't create digital music. They organized it and delivered it on a secure platform that made it easier to distribute, monetize, and consume. They didn't create the smartwatch, they made it better. Another durable competitive advantage is Apple's ecosystem, a way of tying hardware and software together to elevate the user experience and increase customer satisfaction. And another durable competitive advantage is trust, a focus on producing quality products and services and wrapping it all up in Apple's commitment to personal data security. Note, I didn't say perfect products and services, I said quality. Now, these are three defensible positions that a competitor must climb over to take market share from Apple. Not impossible, but very difficult. Castles like this usually only collapse from the inside. On a side note, a considerably fourth defensible position is Apple's amount of cash on hand. $195 billion as of Q1 earnings report. Having that much cash on hand provides Apple the opportunity to play the long game and make the R&D investments necessary to produce the next generation of products and services within multiple industries. A tool that I use to determine the quality of a durable competitive advantage is Porter's 5 Forces. It was created by Harvard Business School professor Michael Porter and later published in 1979 to help analyze the attractiveness and potential profitability of a company. It identified 5 forces that make up a competitive environment. Those are competitive rivalry, threat of new entrant, threat of substitution, supplier power, and buyer power. I use Porter's 5 forces as a working framework to establish if a company might have a durable competitive advantage. I'm able to pull out 75% of what I need from just reviewing the Teladoc annual report. Now, this map looks huge, I know, but I'm not looking at everything. Remember, this is just a framework that I use. So I'll plug a company into this framework and then I'll take a look at it. So when you think of this, what I'm trying to do is substantiate my hunches in certain areas and to try to determine if Teladoc has enough of a durable competitive advantage to warrant my investment. Now let me walk you through some of this. I won't touch on everything like I said, but to give you just enough to understand how I came to my conclusion. Now let's take a look at competitive rivalry. Let me just pull this over. So competitive rivalry is where the focus is on the number of competitors in a market and the strength of those competitors. And where there is more competition, obviously there's often developed a race to the bottom with pricing, which is not good for long-term profitability for the company or for investors' returns. So as it relates to competitive rivalry, what I'm looking for is, I'm really just looking at the number, right? Because there's a lot of things here. So I'm looking at the number of competitors. I don't need to know the total number of competitors, but I do need to have at least a sense of who the big players are in this space and how much of a challenge they can pose to Teladoc's durable competitive advantage. Now let's take a look inside competitive rivalry. When we go in here, we get more granular, obviously. We look at the number of competitors. These are the big ones, right? And so let's take a look at those. Those are Amwell, which just went public last year and estimated to be valued at about $5 billion. MD Live, which was acquired by Cigna in February for an undisclosed amount. Doctors on Demand, founded in 2012 by Dr. Phil and his son Jay McGraw, now operating on their third CEO, and Grand Rounds, co-founded by Owen Tripp. Also, there's Amazon. Though Amazon has been using Teladoc's system for some time now, they actually have begun testing out their own internal telehealth programs with some of its employees, and it's rumored they plan to actually expand the program here this summer. So, and then obviously it makes sense to keep an eye on Amazon going forward. Another competitor would be medical institutions building their own internal program. This is where you have companies like Kaiser or Humana that may build out their own internal health system and program in order to remain competitive. Another thing to consider is there quality differences or otherwise between the companies. And so due to Teladoc's longer experience in telehealth, they've actually been able to get their median response time for general inquiries to less than 10 minutes. Response time is measured in the length of time it takes from when the patient actually completes an online request to the time the physician is online with the patient. This is another application of Wright's Law. It was T.P. Wright that discovered that progress increases with experience. Each percent increase in cumulative production in a given industry results in a fixed percentage improvement and production efficiency. So as Teladoc has done this longer, they've learned and implemented efficiencies that reduce costs and improve client and patient experience, adding to their competitive advantage. Other differences are between Teladoc and other companies is the other services, just the sheer depth of services offered by Teladoc through its own creation or through strategic acquisitions like that of the $18.5 billion Livongo acquisition. Having Livongo adds more depth to the types of care available through Teladoc services, such as hypertension management, diabetes management and prevention, weight management, and mental health. There is Advanced Medical, the global leader in expert medical opinion that provides those critical checks and balances of all the medical information that impacts your care. Instead of just one doctor, kind of think of this, instead of just one doctor making a diagnosis and determining a single plan of action, there are actually multiple expert doctors reviewing the same information and comparing your doctor's treatment to collective best practices to ensure you're getting the best solution for the medical care that you need. So Teladoc is just in a better place to be the company that can offer a near whole person telehealth solution. Other companies under the Teladoc umbrella include Best Doctors, BetterHelp, and Healthiest You. So another thing to think about in terms of competitive rivalry is switching costs. Let's go over here and take a look at that. So anytime insurance companies, contractual agreements, and data is involved, there's always high switching costs involved, especially for member plans or employer health plans that include telehealth services. Is there customer loyalty? Let's just kind of pop into one of these a little bit here. Just take a look, shrink that a little bit, and hopefully you can see that. Sorry that it's so small. Try to make it bigger. So the goal here, really what we're talking about is retention. The goal is to retain current customers and acquire more customers year over year. Where there's a lack of customer loyalty, there's customer attrition. That's a bad thing. With Teladoc's comprehensive suite of virtual healthcare clinical services, its global footprint, its distribution network that includes B2C and direct-to-consumer markets, engagement mechanisms, and that really help them stay on top, basically top of mind with their users. It's really positioned really well to maintain a large share of their current number of users as they continue to add more clients and more numbers of members. All right, so let's pop back out of here and let's get to threat of new entrants, back to threat of new entrant. And so here we're talking really about time and cost of entry, specialist knowledge, economies of scale, cost advantages, technology protection, barrier to entry. Let's just take a look inside here. So we get in here, we can see a little bit more, right? We can see that this is a tough industry to get into, right? Because it's very data intensive, as you can see there. A decade plus expertise in data-driven insight, over 1 billion data elements. You got these large contractual agreements. You also have kind of specialized knowledge. And what I put here really is kind of their trust, experience, and security. They've built some massive security platforms so that you can have these meetings between doctors and they're very secure. And then economies of scale, I won't spend much time on that because I'm going to hit that a little bit later here. But we come back over to the cost advantages. I mean, just take a look at this. $472 saved on average per medical visit. That's how they've gotten this over a conventional visit. That's massive. And so $1,908 savings for chronic care clients and diabetes program. So they've got some cost advantages because of these economies of scale that I haven't talked about yet. Again, that technology protection, platform-enabled sessions, in-touch platform-enabled sessions. 2.1 million visits in 2020 globally done this way on this platform. Distinct advantage. And then when you talk about threat of new entrants, you've got to talk to, barrier to entry. One of the things they have is kind of this first mover's advantage. I mean, just look at this. 50% of Fortune 500 employer clients are utilizing their system, health plans, health systems, insurance, and financial services. Let's go over here and let's talk about threat of substitution. So let's just pop back out of here. So threat of substitution. And what we're really talking about here are what are the chances of your customers substituting your product or service with a better or cheaper solution. This is much more difficult because of contractual agreements in place. Also, no other telehealth company offers such a range of telehealth services. And then the other piece here is supplier power. And that is really how easy it is for your suppliers to raise prices on you. How many suppliers do you have? Not as relevant in this space at this point for this analysis. Buyer power, how easy it is for your buyer's clients to dictate your pricing. There's less buyer leverage today because COVID-19 has become the kind of the default, right? That telemedicine's become the default care for most non-emergency treatment. So does Teladoc have a durable competitive advantage? Let's remember, this is a growth company and one that has not shown a profit yet. But from my analysis, I would say they have two near durable competitive advantage as it relates to its near competitors. And again, I must be careful when using the word durable when I'm talking about a high growth company that has shown no profit and is sitting on a mountain of debt. So here are the two potential durable competitive advantages: first movers advantage and economies of scale. Now, being the first has given Teladoc a distinct advantage. They've learned what works, more about what doesn't work, and also put them in a similar position that both Amazon and Tesla have had and enjoyed, that is time to collect a lot of data. This data becomes critical and potentially part of another advantage Teladoc can exploit with their use of AI to further develop their AI-driven nudges that they have, that where they augment a physician's decision-making skills supported by data. Imagine a physician with much more insight into a patient's health from a host of health experts, as well as other healthcare professionals working on behalf of the patient's health, producing optimum care cost effectively. Being first has allowed Teladoc to raise early capital through a public offering to build out their platform, which has allowed Teladoc to take a substantial lead on the competition. You can't build something like this privately. It will require a lot of time and money to make telemedicine a reality. And if investors are willing to sit on their investment for a while and allow Teladoc to incubate, much like Amazon and Tesla in their early years, there's a fairly good chance that Teladoc not only maintains their lead, but actively extends the lead in telemedicine. In terms of economies of scale, I've already demonstrated the expanding umbrella of services offered by Teladoc, as well as its current active global distribution networks that continue to grow and gives it a decisive advantage in this space. Is it a durable competitive advantage? Well, competitive advantage for sure. The durability of that advantage, well, I think it's too early to call just yet. But that's the nature of the beast when you're buying a growth company. Everything isn't always perfectly clear like a crystal ball. Most of the time, things are going to be a little cloudy in the beginning. That is why we use the dumb method, so we can evaluate all four pieces of the process to determine if we have a green light to buy or wait. My goal with sharing this valuable information with you for free is to create an online community of like-minded retail investors that can crowdsource investment research and information from which the entire community can benefit. The more minds, the better. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and consider subscribing, because in the next video, I'll be taking a deeper look into the U of the dumb method, and that is understanding how Teladoc makes money and determining if there's enough information to give us reason enough to pursue further investigation and a possible move forward with our decision to buy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And if you would like to invest but don't have money to do so right now, I'd encourage you to visit our sister channel, Money Growth Academy, to learn what you can do today to make more money to pay off debt and be in a position to begin investing.